The latest, Cuba arrived in Burkina Faso and promised to give full support to Burkina Faso in case of war. Burkina Faso did a very significant thing to Cuba, and Cuba promised never to forget it. When they went for the United Nations meeting and they were supposed to vote on the sanction that was imposed on Cuba, Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore, the King of Kings, the Savior, the unifier, the all in all, voted for the ban to be lifted. And Cuba never forgot this kind gesture by Burkina Faso. Cuba finally came, and in a close meeting, they agreed and told Burkina Faso that Cuba will be there to help Burkina Faso in any way. Any way. The last time Burkina Faso had Cuba was 1975 and 1983. Aside that, this year, July 2024, is the third time Cuba is visiting Burkina Faso. That should tell us that they have been in a very close relationship from time immemorial.
Ibrahim Traore recently made a groundbreaking move that has resonated globally. By welcoming Cuban and Venezuelan troops, he has aligned Burkina Faso with two nations long famed for their defiance against Western dominance. This decision is significant for Burkina Faso's defense and independence. For decades, the West has exerted control over Africa through economic dependency and military alliance. Traore's actions send a clear message. Burkina Faso, like Cuba and Venezuela, is ready to assert its autonomy, even if it means breaking from powerful nations that still see Africa as a subordinate partner. This alliance challenges the very foundations of Western influence in Africa. If Burkina Faso can develop its defenses and economy through partnerships that promote genuine equality, it questions the need for Western assistance altogether. And if one African nation can succeed with non-Western allies, what's to stop others from following suit? Western influence in Africa has often been based on a transactional model, military support in exchange for access to resources or political sway. But Traore's choice to partner with countries that have successfully resisted Western hegemony for decades suggests a potential shift towards alliances that are grounded in mutual respect. Cuba and Venezuela don't bring the same baggage as Western powers, which often come with economic strings attached. Instead, they bring a history of solidarity with developing nations and a demonstrated commitment to resilience. Many in Western capitals likely see Traore's alliance as a threat to their interests on the continent. The message is clear: Burkina Faso will not be a pawn in someone else's game. It's a new era where African countries could redefine partnerships on their terms, free from the economic and political constraints often imposed by the West. This shift could inspire a wave of African self-reliance that redefines the continent's global position. For some, Burkina Faso's choice of allies, Cuba and Venezuela, may seem unconventional. After all, one might expect alliances to be based on economic power or geographic proximity. But there's a deeper, symbolic meaning here. Cuba and Venezuela are two nations that have consistently defied Western dominance, especially that of the United States, and face sanctions and blockades with remarkable resilience. Their histories resonate with the African experience of colonialism and exploitation, and they represent what it means to remain sovereign despite external pressure. Both Cuba and Venezuela are fiercely anti-imperialist. They have built their national identities on resisting Western interference and developing self-sustained systems. For Burkina Faso, aligning with these countries isn't just about military support. It's about joining forces with like-minded nations who understand the challenges and rewards of independence. It's a message that Burkina Faso values sovereignty over appeasing traditional powers. Through this alliance, Traore is making it clear that he sees no reason for his country to depend on Western validation to chart its course. And both countries have demonstrated that it's possible to survive, if not thrive, without the approval or support of the West. For instance, despite facing some of the harshest economic sanctions in modern history, Cuba has developed an internationally recognized healthcare system, excelling in areas like preventative medicine and doctor training. Venezuela, rich in resources and expertise in energy, has faced numerous Western sanctions, yet continues to pursue economic self-reliance. Burkina Faso stands to gain practical benefits from this alliance too. Cuban and Venezuelan expertise in guerrilla warfare, resilience under sanctions, and the development of local defense systems is invaluable to a country that aims to reduce its dependency on external powers. For instance, Cuba's medical assistance and Venezuela's energy strategies can help Burkina Faso develop sectors vital for independence without needing Western aid, which often comes with restrictive conditions. This is about building an economy and defense system that stands independently, a break from the cycles of dependency that have plagued many African nations. Apart from this, these two nations offer Burkina Faso a lot. Burkina Faso's alliance with Cuba and Venezuela goes beyond military aid. It's a blueprint for economic independence that directly challenges the debt-driven dependency model promoted by Western nations. Historically, many African nations have relied on financial aid and loans from Western countries and institutions like the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. These loans often come with conditions that influence national policies, making it difficult for countries to act in their best interests. Western financial institutions often offer assistance that, instead of building long-term self-sufficiency, traps countries in cycles of dependency. In 2023, for example, the African Development Bank noted that 40% of sub-Saharan African countries were in or at risk of debt distress due to reliance on Western financial aid. Burkina Faso, by partnering with Cuba and Venezuela, is sidestepping this model entirely, focusing on equitable economic exchange, skills transfer, and self-reliance. Cuba and Venezuela, unlike traditional Western allies, aren't looking to control Burkina Faso's resources or dictate its policies. Their support emphasizes development in healthcare, education, and local resource management without strings attached. For instance, Cuba has already committed to sending medical professionals to assist Burkina Faso in building a resilient healthcare system, a move that reduces the country's reliance on Western medical aid. Meanwhile, Venezuela's expertise in energy security offers Burkina Faso a path to sustainable development in this crucial sector. In a country like Burkina Faso, where energy shortages are common, Venezuelan support in establishing sustainable energy systems can significantly reduce costs and free resources for other developmental needs. On the military front, Cuban and Venezuelan troops bring strategies that have been honed by years of defending against foreign interference. These strategies focus on guerrilla warfare, community defense, and infrastructure resilience, which align well with Burkina Faso's desire for self-sustaining security. This alliance hasn't gone unnoticed by the West, especially by former colonial powers with a long-standing interest in African affairs. For these nations, accustomed to their role as benefactors or overseers, the alignment of Burkina Faso with two anti-imperialist nations poses an existential threat to their influence. Western countries, particularly the United States and France, have maintained a strong military presence in West Africa, justifying it under the guise of counterterrorism or stability. But with Burkina Faso forging new alliances outside of this influence, it forces a re-evaluation of who truly benefits from this military presence. After all, if African nations can secure their independence and stability without Western involvement, it challenges the very premise of Western aid. The presence of Cuban and Venezuelan troops symbolizes a shift in the power dynamic, a move away from dependence on Western military and economic support toward alliances grounded in mutual respect. For the West, this is unsettling because it reveals that Africa can indeed assert its autonomy without relying on former colonial powers.